thanks for being here. We can get started. If you're here for indoor soccer, you're in the right place. Thanks for being here. We're doing captains meetings this year, so it's a way to just meet the captains and get some information out there, share some information about our league and about our sports. So that's what we're going to do today. These are the three things. We're going to talk about intramural basics, just some basic policies and procedures that we have that are important for captains to know. We're going to talk some indoor soccer rules, sorry about that, and some sportsmanship at the end. Let's start with the basics. So, is everyone here a captain of your team? Okay, cool. So captains are basically our point of contact for a lot of things that happen during our leagues. And so there's certain things that we would like for you all to do and to help us out with. So we put some of them on here. So you'll create the team probably and invite in players to your team. Remember that everyone has to be on your team roster in order to be eligible to play. Eligibility, which we'll talk about later. I know there are already some questions here about if someone's eligible to play. That's great. That's kind of your responsibility to figure out that person is actually eligible to participate in our league. Understand some of the IM policies and sport rules and disseminate some of that information to your teams as well, so we can make the league run as smoothly as possible this year. And make sure that you're actually going to show up to your games. We have a procedure that one of us, me, will talk about later for how to do that if you can't be there. Sportsmanship is a big deal. I like to say it's a pillar of our program, so we'll talk a lot about that at the end. But just do your best to kind of lead in that area as well. And then if there are fees that are associated, it's your responsibility to pay those forfeit fees. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it doesn't have to be your money. I like to encourage a lot of captains to raise the money from the people who didn't show up to the game, even though they said they were. But it is your responsibility to pay that if we get there. Questions about that stuff? Cool. Feel free to raise your hand or just blurt out a question anytime if you have one. Okay, so what is intramural sports? We're here for fun. We're here to play fairly and safely. We're here to learn and we're here to have fun. Learning is actually a part of it. There are a lot of things that we have to, part of my job is to prove that students are learning something while participating in my programs. You're at a university, so you learn in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So believe it or not, you are supposed to be doing that. But basically, you don't see winning in any of that, right? Competition is down here at the bottom because we don't care about it. We really don't care about who wins or, competition is prevalent in sports, like we get it, right? And it can be a good thing, but for the most part, that's not really what it's about. It's just about, relieving some stress from a busy week or going out and, playing a game you love with some of your friends. Okay, so let's talk about eligibility. So students, faculty, and staff can play in our league. We were talking earlier, there's a lot of classifications for faculty staff. So typically if you have a faculty staff member that wants to play on your team and they're not full-time, just email us who they are and we'll just double check to make sure they are actually eligible. But they can play. Varsity players and club sport athletes are restricted. So we have some women's soccer players that are on the varsity team that are on our staff. And we were joking with them about playing in our league and they're not eligible to play in our league because they play on the varsity team here. Same with club. We do have a men's club soccer team. So those players are restricted from how many can actually play on the team. And the whole point of that is because intramural sports is for fun. And these people have more practice or more skill, right, than some of your recreational type players. So we want to make sure that everyone is having fun while they're playing. Free agents, yeah. Free agents are a process that we have. It's what we call people who sign up individually. So we advertise that you don't have to have a team to play, right? The best way to get into the league is to come already with a group of your friends and create a team. But there are a lot of people out there who don't have a team. Maybe it's their first semester on campus. They don't know a ton of people, or they're the only person in their friend group that actually enjoys soccer. So they want to play. So they will sign up individually. You will see them on the Fusion Play app. A lot of times you'll see them as a pending player. Like if someone requests to join your team, you pull up your team on the app, you'll see pending players. And what that means is that that's a free agent that is requesting to join your team. And you are welcome to deny or accept them. It is a little bit of it's difficult as an individual to find a group of people to play with. So if you have a spot on your team, I would encourage you to at least reach out to that person feel free to give them 10 questions of, hey, what's your soccer experience like? That kind of stuff if you're willing to do that. We don't allow guests to play. We don't allow alumni to play. We don't allow community members to play. So community members are kind of like guests. So I know there's a guest pass for getting into the building, like the rec center to play, but those people, they can get into the building, but they can't play term sports. Any questions about eligibility? Okay, cool. So we have leagues. We have this like hierarchy. We have the sports, then we have leagues, then we have divisions. So leagues are based on gender. So we have a men's and fraternity league, we have a co-rec league, and we have a sorority and women's league. And so every individual person is able to play on 2 teams, one single gender team, one co-rec team. So I can play on a men's league, and I can play in a men's league and in the co-rec team. But I cannot play on 2 men's teams, or a men's team and a fraternity team. Does that make sense, everyone? Okay, awesome. Okay, we unfortunately only have 1 field that we can play indoor soccer on. So it's going to be pretty full. We're playing Monday through Thursday, and we're playing from 6 to 10 p.m. every night. And so there's a pretty high demand for spots in the league because of the limited space that we have. So we try to get as many teams in to play as we can. So we try to stay on schedule as often as possible. So that's why we say game time is forfeit time, because we want your teams in the arena ready to go by the time it says on your app, on your schedule, right? If you're scheduled for 7 o'clock, come at 6:45. Try to get all your guys there by 6:45. Get a quick game plan together and get the previous games done, get into the arena and so forth. I said this already, everyone's got to be in Fusion Play before they can play. Fusion Play, it's an app, right? I mean, like, sometimes it's going to work and sometimes it's not going to work. Our staff have their frustrations with it as well. So if you're having problems with it, check in with our staff. They'll be able to help you. We'll have a supervisor and 3 officials for 2 officials, supervisor and 2 officials, referees for each soccer match, and then we'll have a scorekeeper for each soccer match as well. So you'll have like 2 people that are in the arena, 2 people outside of the arena that are going to be able to communicate with you during the match. We do say try to avoid adding players at the site. I mean, we certainly can do that, but there's usually a time crunch for that situation, and they have to be on the roster before they can play. So if you can get it figured out ahead of time, you really won't have to worry about it when it comes game time. To check in, every player has to check in. So to check in with the staff, they'll be wearing a blue polo like this or a yellow official shirt. And they'll have an iPad, and you just show them either your MTSU ID, like the physical ID, or you can use the Get Mobile app. So this is the logo for that if you don't have it already. And that app just makes you log in with your MTSU credentials. So it's just a way that we can prove that you are actually who you say you are and you are attending this university. And there's even the section on there where you can just click on it and it has the picture that's on your MTSU ID. You can just pull that up and show the staff. Questions about that? Awesome. Cruising. Let's talk about defaults and forfeits. So we want everyone to show up, but we get it. College students are busy, right? We might have something else that you want to do. Maybe there's a concert you want to go to, or a couple of your players are in the same class and they got a test that night and they're not going to be able to make it to the game. That kind of stuff happens. So if you can't make it to your game, if your entire team can't make it to the game, just tell us ahead of time. So we say 3:30 the day of the game. Tell us by then, and you'll receive a default. So that just means that we have the opportunity to contact the other team and tell them they don't have to drive all the way in or get organized and come to their game. There's a free hour there. It also has an opportunity for us to tell staff too. So if the 6 o'clock game is defaulted, we can say, hey, you don't have to come till 7:30 or 6 o'clock, whatever it is. If you do default, if your team calls us, it's still a loss on your schedule, but again, like I said, that doesn't really matter for us. You get a 7.0 sportsmanship rating, which is a passing grade. Ryan will talk about that a little bit later. And that's it. So we have a 2 defaults equals a forfeit policy because we want you to play the games you told us you were going to play. Right? When you signed up for a division, like a day and time on it. And if you can't come multiple times, then whoever's supposed to play you is out multiple games during that season. And that's what we're trying to avoid. Forfeits are the other one. It's the no call, no show. It's just your team doesn't show up. And nobody knows why. Nobody's heard from you. So if you forfeit, you'll get a loss on your record. You'll get a 3.0 sportsmanship rating, which is very low. And your team will be fined $40 mostly for our staff's time, because the staff had to come to the game. You've got to pay them to be there. We do have a 2 forfeits removed from the league policy. Again, if you're just being disrespectful, we treat it as a courtesy thing, right? If you're being disrespectful and just don't show up, even though you signed up for that spot in the league, we'll just take it. Questions about defaults and forfeits? The 3:30 default deadline is pretty strict, I will say. So try to get that phone call or email or stop into the office by 3:30 to get that default. All right, let's go over some soccer specific rules. So I'm going to start. So we play 6-on-6, so that includes the keeper. You have to have 4 to start. So if you're playing on a co-rec team, there's a gender requirement, a gender ratio requirement. And the easiest way to think about that is just a plus or minus 1 is where you want to stick to it. So if you have 6 players, or if you have 6 players, in co-rec, the 4 and 2 combo, the guy and girl, 4 guys and girls combo. We have co-rec teams in here, right? Okay. Well, otherwise, 4 players to start, and that's really what we like to say is like 4 players checked in at game time. Ready. We play 20-minute halves in indoor soccer, just continuous clock the whole time. The clock will never stop unless there's like an injury or something. Our staff has to respond to an injury. Then we will stop the clock for that. No timeouts in indoor soccer. We don't do overtime in the regular season. In the playoffs, we will have to discover a winner, right? So we will have overtime, and we'll email that like procedure out if we get there. All right, questions about that stuff? All right, turn it over to Ryan.
In case you're curious, overtime procedures, kicks from the mark. We don't do overtime. Just straight kicks from the mark. So we're going to go over mercy rules real quick. So if you're just absolutely destroying one team, we do have a mechanism to stop the pain, because my team gets beat pretty bad quite often. So if you're up by 10 goals with 10 minutes left, then the game will be over. Or if you're losing by 10 goals, hopefully that's not the case. Or if you're up by 5 goals with 5 minutes left, we stop the game at that time. Cool. Questions on mercy rules? They're pretty easy. You will see them quite often. They're pretty common. It's a long game and there's lots of shots taken, and I know I never like being the goalkeeper, so sometimes I accidentally let one in. Equipment. So we are kind of strict on equipment when it comes to indoor soccer. So teams should wear different colors. We have pennies if you do not have separate colors. If you guys just don't have jerseys or uniforms or whatever, then we do have pennies available to you. But you can all come wearing the same color t-shirt, or if you all support one club, all come wearing the same club. That's an option as well. We have a couple teams that wore all like Nashville SC jerseys or something along those lines. They all wore bright yellow. We have teams that show up in all blue or whatever you like. So just wear different colors. Goalkeepers have to be identifiable, so they shouldn't be in the same color. They can wear gloves that they like, but that doesn't identify them. They'll have to wear a penny or a different color penny from your team, or they'll have to just wear a different color t-shirt. It can be anything you like. Just make sure that they're identifiable. That way we know who's playing goalkeeper and who's their hands. Jewelry. So jewelry is the next part. This is the one thing that our staff will be very strict on because we tell them to. And it's a safety reason. So we don't want to see any gruesome injuries with, any sort of gruesome injury, honestly. And we also don't want your property to be damaged, right? So like I wear a necklace, I don't want my necklace to be grabbed and just torn off. So it's safety to you guys and your players, and it's also to make sure that your property doesn't get hurt, and we don't want to have that issue. Because I know my necklace is cheap, but some people like to have nice, fancy, shiny things, and so we want to make sure that that's okay. It includes all jewelry, so piercings, earrings, nose rings, belly button rings is usually my statement. Can't have it. The things that you can have. are if you have to wear a medical alert bracelet for some reason, you can have that. You can have dog tags. You can have, what's the last one? And you can have religious headwear and whatnot if you need, if something specifies. So you can have religious accessories. It just has to be soft and or taped down. So you have to tape it down, that way it's secure and it won't come up and it's not going to hurt you. Good. Again, we're very strict on this policy. Our referees and our supervisors will be enforcing it, and they'll tell you to remove yourself, and you can get sportsmanship deductions for not listening. Cool. The other thing with equipment, you're not allowed to wear cleats in the indoor arena. You have to have either indoor shoes or tennis shoes. You cannot have studs. Yeah.
Are indoor soccer cleats allowed?
Yeah, you can wear indoor cleats, like they can have the little beads, but you just can't wear studs. Good. Again, that's a facility policy. Substitutions. Substitutions, we don't have formal substitutions. They're on the fly. So you're going to come out of the back of your own goal. So whatever team or whatever goal that your goalkeeper's standing in, you're going to come out from there. You're not going to use the doors. So come out from behind the goal and just make sure that one player is completely off before the next one comes on. All right, we're not interrupting play for any reason. Yeah, any questions on substitutions? Again, you can do them whenever you like. You don't have to wait for the referees, but do make sure all your players come on. Ball in and out of play. The arena is an enclosed area, but it is enclosed by a net. So the ball is out of play when it hits the net on any of those surfaces. There's a differentiation between goal kicks and kick-ins or throw-ins. So when the ball goes out over the goal line, we're going to have goal kicks. If it hits the side of the netting on the touch lines, we'll have kick-ins instead of throw-ins. Yeah, kick-ins will take place from about a yard. We don't expect it to be exact. About a yard away from where the ball went out of play, so where it hit the net, just straight down. Take it about a yard away from the wall and go from there. But obviously, if it hits the line or the net in like near midfield and you take it up near the penalty area, we're going to tell you to go back. Right. The same rules apply with throw-ins, so opponents have to respect the 2-yard distance for this. So in outdoor soccer, we have a 2-yard distance requirement for throw-ins. So if I take a throw-in and you're within 2 yards of me and you try to stop the ball for some reason, you're not allowed to do it. You have to give 2 yards. So it's the same for kick-ins, so you have to give 2 yards of space. Means most of the time you're probably going to end up playing backwards if teams can stand 2 yards in front of you. Good. Questions on that? It's also out of play when it goes in the goal.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are we doing corners too?
Yes, so corner kicks will also, they'll be taken from roughly the corner. Obviously in a circular arena, we don't have corners, but you'll take it from somewhere out. There's a white line that is above the goal area, but below the penalty area, it's a white line that stretches the entire baseline. That is the touch line. So from the edge of the curve all the way around, and so you just take it between the wall, the touch line wall and the touch line, if that makes sense. Any other questions? Cool. The fun fact about your corner kicks is that you can't score on your own goal on a corner kick, in case you didn't know. If you accidentally do that, you didn't actually score on yourself.
I'll see the video.
Yeah. Goals can be scored from kickoffs though, so you can line up and shoot all you like. It's very rare it goes in, but you're welcome to try. I think we had a couple last night in our scrimmage. And then we don't have offside. It's not worth teaching, and it's indoor. Nobody has indoor. And no indoor arena ever functions offside. We modify the distance for free kicks. So there's 7 yards between where the foul occurred and where the ball will be placed and where we set the wall. I know that in indoor we like to go fast a lot. So if you're gonna ask for your yards, make sure you're very clear about that. If not, just like give our referees and then go fast. Good. And then my favorite part about this is we do not have any slide tackling. None whatsoever. Do not slide. You don't have to. It's indoor, so one, the turf is dangerous for you as a player. A lot of times, especially if you don't slide on turf a lot, which I don't know why anybody would. It hurts the individual player who makes the slide tackle. It's dangerous for them, right? I know you get a lot of cuts and bruises, and we don't need blood from that. And then also it's dangerous for our participants as well, right? Both sides. We are recreation-based environments, so slide tackles, we don't expect teams to know how to do super perform a slide tackle properly, right? That's part of being recreational. We adhere to the lowest standard, and slide tackles are a very technical and dangerous thing to do, and so we take it out. That way, we're not having people that don't know what they're doing performing slide tackles, right? We understand some teams do, but we're taking it out for the safety of everyone. Cool? Because we don't distinguish between the skill levels. Stand your feet, you'll get a yellow card each slide. We have a couple returners that were at indoor soccer last year, so if you played last season or last winter, you'll recognize a couple of them. And I tell them to hand out cards like candy for it. It's good. We don't want it. I'm happy with it. So if you slide tackle, you're going to get a card. And they do hand out cards like candy. So, yes.
Are those two girls watching?
Yes. Yes, those would be the returners I was referencing.
Those two.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other questions on slide tackles? Cool. I'm going to make a note about goalkeepers right now because you're going to ask this question, or somebody's going to ask this question. Goalkeepers can't slide either. For those of you who play goalkeeper or are going to relay the message to your goalkeepers, I just tell them to come out and be big. Right? They can come and take space, they just can't leave their feet. That means they can't go in with their hands, and they can't go in with their feet. Right? So just no sliding into the goalkeeper either. Much less common in indoor than outdoor, but they can't slide. Just come out and be big. Yeah.
Is there a rule for high kicking? Because in outdoor there was one.
Yes.
There was
Yeah.
some,
So
there was some last night.
dangerous play. Yes. And it's circumstantial. So it depends on the proximity of opponents and position of body and either feet or just face. Right. So dangerous play is somewhat subjective, but yes. Yes, that is. We just adapt FIFA's laws. So all the fouls and regulations are still adapted from FIFA, and those are implemented. We use high school rules, but high school rules are also adapted from IFAB, so we use those. Good. Cool. Penalty kicks. We changed the penalty kick spot from last season. So if you played last winter, you know that we used the dot, and we learned that was way too close. Maybe not our best idea ever, but it was really easy to identify that as the penalty spot and to teach, and we learned that wasn't good. So this is where we will be taking penalty kicks from. It will be just the top of the penalty area, and then all the other players will remain outside of the penalty area and the penalty arc still. Your kicker will need to be identified, so they have to say, hey, I'm the kicker, and then they go set the ball down, and then they can take the penalty. Questions? Cool. Now the also fun sportsmanship section. So, as Dan alluded to, sportsmanship is a pillar of our program. So, and he also alluded to our values that we teach. So these are the three things that we are trying to teach through intramural sports. So one of them is accountability and commitment. So part of that is you guys showing up for this meeting, right? You're committed to a task and a team, and so you're here representing them. And showing up on time to all your games and all that fun stuff, right? You're communicating with us. And communication is that second tier. I love to send emails because, you know, that's what I majored in, is writing emails. And so you as captains will get a lot of them, but your teammates will also get them. So we teach communication via email, which is a little bit more of a business professional. And then we also teach communication in game environments, right? How to talk to your teammates, right? How to facilitate that, and also how to communicate with referees and supervisors and ask questions politely, or just to inquire about rules or whatever it may be, right? So communication. And then sportsmanship is the last and most important aspect of our teachings. So sportsmanship is paramount in our programs, and we believe that it's the most important. So a little more on that. So part of that is that our sportsmanship scale is set. It's from 0 to 10. So you get a grade after every single game. You'll get a score from 0 through 10. 0 being very, very bad, and 10 being absolutely wonderful. We like to see lots of 10s. I like it when I come into the office and all I have to do is punch in 10s into my captain picker. That's the best day. Part of that is all of your teams will qualify for playoffs, provided that you remain above this 7.0 average. So again, that calculation, I go through and I add up all the scores at the end of the season, and we say, okay, this team, they're above the 7.0 average, so they can play in playoffs. So again, just passing this. The referees and the assistants and the supervisors will all grade you, and whoever on our staff is there. Forfeits, just to kind of clarify this and reiterate that forfeits are really bad. Forfeits give you a 3.0 sportsmanship and make it very hard to get into the playoffs. So, please don't. Cool. Stop me if you have any questions. So, part of what we're teaching with sportsmanship is just how to behave during competition. Right, so we understand that in the heat of the moment, you're very emotional sometimes, and that your players will get very emotional. We get that. It happens. I know plenty of guys that are the nicest people off the court, and then the second you put them on the court, they go bonkers. And you're like, what happened to this nice, kind guy that I knew before? And all of a sudden, he's a maniac. Right? We get that happens. We can't have that in our environment when it creates unsafe environments, or unfair, or just not so friendly environments. So it's, for us, competition, during competition and sportsmanship, it's how you interact. It's how you win. It's, are you gloating and taunting, you making fun of your opponents? We don't want that. We want you to be humble and kind and all of that. And then when you lose, the same things apply, right? You're not blaming the referees. You're not saying, oh, you lost us the game, or you're not blaming your teammates. You're not blaming the other players. You're just, it's okay to lose. We really don't care. You get to play in this season 6 games, and we don't care what your record looks like. We really don't. As long as your sportsmanship's fine, A-okay by us. Questions about that? Moving on. We're here to help you work through these, right? We get it. We get it. Sportsmanship in the first week is usually worse than it is in the last week. It happens, right? It's part of learning to adapt to the different environment in our recreational environment. So, it happens. You have a guy who he accidentally slide tackles and gets a yellow card. It happens. Right? We have that one guy that blew up at the referee once, and he goes up to us, man, I really made a mistake, and he changes it for the next game. We get that things happen in isolated incidents. Right? We don't want repeated patterns of behavior. Right? So we're here to help you work through those little bits, and we're fine with it as long as it doesn't continue to repeat. You as the captains are the forefront of this. Right? So you're here to, 1, set a good example for your teammates, and 2, to kind of work with them. Right? Hey man, you can't do that. You're going to get us in trouble. Right? Or if somebody's a little bit hot in the game, you say, go sit down. Like, take a rest for a minute, a breather, just a minute to relax. You'll find, we found that just getting out of the arena really helps sometimes. Right? Kind of go outside where you can't hear it's loud in that little environment. Just go outside, relax, take a deep breath, kind of slow that heart rate down, and they'll kind of come to their senses a little bit. So you as the captain help facilitate us with that. Right? Questions, comments, concerns? We had a lot of sportsmanship meetings over the past year and a half that I've been here, but they've been getting more, we've had more and more of them. It's been a nice little trend. And so Dan created this as just a very simple message to give to people, particularly captains, to tell to their players. These are the things you can't do. You can't fight, you can't harass, you can't taunt, you can't throw. Right? And this includes your teammates, the opponents, and our officials. And again, there are schemes. But, right, you can't fight, you can't harass, you can't threaten, and we can't talk. Just a very simple message. Everything else outside of that, we want you to have fun. We want you to come out and have a good time with your friends and kick the ball around and just score a bicycle kick if you can. I can't. But if you can, it's great. I really want you to come out and have fun and to mess around. That's good. We just don't want you to cause harm to others. Right? And these will get possible. Good. Cool. Yellow cards do come with sportsmanship deductions, and therefore we have different levels of them. So first and foremost, unsporting acts. So UB, to use the technical knowledge, unsporting behavior is a yellow card in the laws of the game. And so if you get a yellow card, you are going to get it. You're going to get a deduction in your sportsmanship. Right? So that includes slide tackles, that includes PI, that includes all of those. It's not just for verbals. You can get them yellow cards that come for anything else, not just dissent, will still be deductions. Good? Jewelry. So if we have repeated incidents where we're telling you take that off, take that off, take that off, take that off, and you're just not listening, right, then we have fewer yellow cards. And just any sort of item that's outside of the laws of the game. So there aren't any great examples that come to mind, but we can yellow cards for just random things or just sporting things that are just really dumb, right? So one of them that's added is the repeated, like VAR symbol. In case you're curious, if you make the VAR over and over again, you can get yellow cards for that. Stuff like that, right? Red cards are our version of ejections, right? So parallel to our handbook, there are ejections. So double yellows do you still count as ejections, or straight reds, doesn't matter, right? So violent conduct, yeah, violent conduct. Any others? Once you get ejected, hopefully we don't have any of those, knock on wood. Fingers crossed we don't have any of those. You will be suspended, or whoever on your team is suspended. I'm really hoping it's not like you, because you're getting the spiel. If you do get one, and you are suspended indefinitely until you meet with Dan. I would probably be in there too, but specifically the handbook says Dan. So, until you meet with us, you're suspended. Don't get ejected. We do partner with student conduct, so if we do have incidents that go above just misbehavior in our events, then we do partner with them, and we'd really love not to communicate with them about incidents this semester. So, here's hope. Cool. If we want fans to come to the environments. We think that fans add a great aspect to intramural sports. Part of that becomes that they can provide energy, they can provide a great environment, and just an overall better experience for our participants and our refs, and just, it's fun, right? You want your friends to come and hang out, whoever that may be. But they do affect your sportsmanship rating. So we can't have your fans come and be hooligans and yell at the referees all game too, right? They also have to clean up after themselves, and you have to clean up after yourselves. We don't want to leave the place as a mess. And so those things affect your sportsmanship rating as well. Cool. Any questions? Cool. Admin stuff. Schedules will come out on Friday. We're going to start working on them tonight or tomorrow. The schedule registration ends tonight, so we're going to start working on schedules tomorrow and Friday, and so you'll get an email from me when schedules are released, so will all of your teammates, and it will include information and whatnot about the upcoming season. Playoffs are, again, I mentioned this, we have a 6-week season this year, so it's rather long. We're going to get 6 regular season games. We do take a break for spring break, and so playoffs will start around April 1st. Our website is here. If you want to, you can follow us on our Instagram account. We post updates and stuff on there for registration and whatnot, and just kind of updates on how the season's going. And then call us or email me anytime. So this is the email that I watch all the time, and this is my office phone. So if you want to, send a phone call on the phone, email me. I usually sit at my desk. I have a little cot. I should really just get a cot.